Okay, on today's video, we're going to talk about enhanced conversion tracking and how you can get similar results to the campaign that I recently tested this out on, where we increased the profit of the campaign where it was a shopping campaign that we ran for a supplement brand. After enhanced conversion tracking was set up, we got a 34% increase in the amount of profit that that campaign was able to produce year over year. So with that said, I will tell you how we went ahead and did that, what enhanced conversion tracking is, how it really works, and then from there, what you need to do to kind of replicate this for your own company after you're done watching the video. So with that said, I'll get right into the content. Enhanced conversion tracking is broken up into two distinct parts. There's actually what's called enhanced web conversions, which is an older version, and then there's the newer enhanced lead conversions. Enhanced web conversions is basically where they both work off of taking, if somebody fills out a contact form on your site, or if somebody purchases through the shopping cart on your site, you take the email address and or phone number that you get from either one of those sources and you pass it back to Google. Google uses that data to try to piece together extra conversions that you couldn't normally track on users who are on so-called cookieless devices. Safari, Brave browser, Firefox browser, which are the main ones. In that where somebody's going to purchase without doing it on the first visit to the website, you'll be able to get those conversions tracked using now this enhanced web conversions tracking itself. And so with that, you're going to be able to get more conversion data. More conversion data always leads to more results. Why? Because Google's algorithm uses conversion data to be able to power whether or not your ad gets shown to this person or that person. Even if you're doing keyword-based advertising, search ads on Google, if you're advertising for red shoes, Google, when you get a purchase through that keyword, they look at the different types of people within the people who search for that keyword, red shoes, have worked for you better than others, and so that they can sub-segment even at the keyword level traffic that they need to be sending you, or just show somebody else's ads that perhaps converts better for those subset of people within the people who search for red shoes. And therefore, their users get a better experience and they can charge more for their ads. So with that said, this allows you to pick those conversions up. Okay, enhanced web conversions will get you 5 to 15% more conversions tracked with the by enabling tracking on these cookieless browsers, which can by itself affect your profit potential by double digits itself, depending on the market. If you're in a market that has, or you're like a B2C market, or just in general where you have a higher percentage of people who use those browsers, Safari, Firefox, Brave, this can mean even more conversions other than the 5 to 15% that your average person can get will be able to be picked up through this enhanced web conversions what it can do for you basically. So anyway, with that said, we did run a case study. I did a 180-day case study for a supplement brand, as I mentioned at the start of this video. And so with that, we started out, just to let you know, we had data-driven attribution set up already, which is a conversion attribution type, which is supposed to be able to pick up conversions from these cookieless browsers already, Safari, Firefox, and so forth. But which is why I bring it up. Maybe that we still were able to get a lot more conversions picked up having the enhanced web conversion set up through Google Tag Manager, which is how this is set up. So you just go to somebody who knows how to do Google Tag Manager. They're going to be able to set you up with this, just mentioning hey, I want enhanced conversion tracking. With that said, we set it up. This particular supplement brand mainly ran a shopping campaign. We set it up. We waited 180 days, and we basically tried to see what sales increase we could get having more conversions. Okay, so with that, after this was over, we looked at the year-over-year performance. So we basically looked back and went back 3 years within that 3 years, we check to see what the average sales were by month, so we can see, this July, how we compared to the previous July. And if we compared the previous July to this July with that, it wasn't actually July, but just to pick one month, we compared, after the 180 days, that 30 days that followed that directly to that same 30-day period the year before, and we witnessed not just 11% more conversions, which is pretty typical if you're going to set up this enhanced conversion tracking, but the surprising part was we got 34% more profit from the same exact ad spend, or roughly the same exact ad spend, on that shopping campaign that we set up. And for a shopping campaign, specifically smart shopping is what this was, there's nothing really to optimize with it. So this shows you what their algorithm can do with a little bit more conversion data. A little bit more data can give you a lot more sales and profit, because not only can it know what to get more of, but it knows what to do less of. So you have a potential for a similar 20, 30, 40% increase in profit on your entire account just by having this enhanced conversion tracking set up. And so with that said, it takes a few hours to get set up by a conversion tracking specialist, but then you're done. It's there. You'll enjoy that extra 20, 30, 40% potentially for your business from now on. So that kind of goes into specifically what you can get as far as results. Like I said, it works off of capturing the user's email, phone number itself, and passing it back to Google. So Google can basically compare the users that they have that use Gmail or YouTube, or basically have a Google account, and know all the phone numbers and email addresses and stuff that they have from their users. They can piece together the data you give them and know it's the same person, and therefore they don't need cookies to know somebody purchased after the first visit. And that's how and why this enhanced web conversions actually works, just so that you know. Enhanced web conversions is also a fantastic way to track YouTube brand ads in your market, as you can now track someone up to 90 days. Google had something still to this day, and had for 5+ years now, view-through conversions, which was something where you could see if somebody's seen an ad and later on purchased, even if they didn't click through that ad. And you could track YouTube ads with this. If you have ads that are supposed to be seen by your market but aren't supposed to get them to purchase right away, you can use view-through conversions, but you can only track up to 30 days from the time someone's seen an ad. If you use enhanced web conversions, and you have the enhanced conversion tracking set up itself, you can actually have somebody see a YouTube ad and then later on purchase by passing that email address or phone number back to Google and know if that ad worked. Okay, and up to 90 days instead of that 30 days, which view-through conversions only allow you to do. So it's an extra way to get conversion data on a YouTube campaign, which most people who see an ad that are influenced by it and will lead to or influence a sale later on aren't going to be able to, or wouldn't buy right away by clicking directly through the video ad, because people are watching videos on YouTube. They're just not in the mood to buy then, or of course that you're just not going to get everybody to. That is where the people that are going to buy right away, and people have to think about it, and of course they might have to see a couple ads or whatever. You'll get a lot more data to be able to have Google steer your ads and steer the ads on your end if you use the data to see, such as, I should be bidding more on desktop versus mobile, or if I should be, bidding more on male versus female, this age bracket versus that age bracket, this income demographic versus that income demographic, which are all possible to modify what you're paying on each one of these levels through Google Ads. And specifically, since we're talking about YouTube ads, which YouTube ads is done through Google Ads, you can do that, and then through your own side or your end, optimize the ads using that extra data. And having extra data will, of course, make you make better decisions, and Google will use their data as much as they can and improve your results even more with the extra more data that they will have. The other thing is, now as far as enhanced lead conversions, for enhanced lead conversions, this is mainly for replacing offline conversion tracking. And for consumer B2C brands, for those who are lazy or otherwise find it not possible to do offline conversion tracking. And so if you don't know what offline conversion tracking is, it's basically where if you get a lead that contacts you through your contact forms or through your phone, you could track through Google Ads pretty easily whether they did one of those things. If you want to track if that person who filled out the form or called if they bought or if the lead was qualified, so that you can pass that data back into your Google Ads account. And then again, like I said, modify what you're paying for mobile versus desktop based upon, what's the ROI on mobile versus desktop, and then setting a unique bid based upon how well mobile versus desktop does, or one income demographic. So you'll be able to adjust your bids on, one income demographic or another income demographic based upon what is getting a sale or not. Essentially, you can get a lot more out of your results doing that. This enhanced lead conversions will let you to do basically offline conversion tracking with less steps or less trouble, so to say. The regular offline conversion tracking works off of the capture of what's called a GCLID code. It's a little serial number basically for every ad click, and that serial number, Google puts that, they store it on their end, and they put that code in the URL of where, if you click on the ad, take it to the landing page. In the URL of the browser, it'll say like this is the website.com / whatever it is, and then question mark, and then GCLID equals, and then that code. You can program your website so that when somebody fills out the contact form, that GCLID code's pulled out of that URL. And if you use a call tracking provider like CallRail, which we use, CallRail, when somebody calls, because there's a tracking number there and their system allows you to do it, that GCLID code can be pulled from the browser URL as well. And you keep it on file until somebody buys. When somebody buys, you can ultimately on your database find the GCLID code associated with that purchase and then pass that GCLID code back to Google Ads so you can see at the device level, ad level, keyword level, gender level, age level, where the purchase came from. You can do the same thing if you just want to, when a lead is qualified, you verify it as a good quality lead, you can pass that data back to optimize your ads off of that. You can, use it yourself to optimize, and Google will use their data that you're giving them to optimize, for quality leads instead of just leads, or sales versus just leads. And, respectively, it's a pain for people because we do it a lot here, and we help clients actually manage it. But when Jane Smith buys, assuming that you want to take things to the next level, you want to optimize your ads based upon sales, not just the leads coming in or whether or not a lead was generated, because you can only take it so far with only the lead, because without the awareness of which leads are turning into sales, you can only go so far with it, and that's just the truth. So Jane Smith buys, 80 days from the time she clicks on an ad, and she called, and then initially she called as per how she initially contacted the company, and then 80 days later that she bought, basically, even though if Jane Smith bought, you have to find that GCLID code. So you have to go into CallRail and to know which call resulted in Jane Smith, because you got to know which, because all in CallRail they give you a record of every call, and then you have to reference which call Jane Smith's call was that initially called in. So you have to listen to the call recordings of each call to listen to, when you ask the person, what's your name? And then when the one where the recording says Jane Smith, that call was the initial call that Jane Smith called in on itself. And then within that same, tied to that same record, it says the GCLID code. So you can grab that GCLID code, and then now you know what to give back to Google so they can see what Jane Smith's keyword was and ad was, and so forth and so forth. It's a little easier with the contact forms, basically, because you grab the GCLID code when they fill out the form, and it gets sent to your email address or to your CRM with the rest of the lead information, name, first name, phone number. It also says GCLID code with it if you set up what is called a hidden form field. And so when Jane Smith buys, you just got to go into where the rest of your form leads are, find Jane Smith, grab the GCLID code, which is right in with Jane Smith's, phone number and email address there, and then pass that GCLID code back to Google Ads. And now you can see, again, what keyword Jane Smith typed in and what state she was from, so you can steer your ads, and so Google can steer your ads. That's the general process of traditional offline conversion tracking, which is very worth it to do, by the way, and also is the better choice to do, given that there's an alternative to use enhanced lead conversions to replace offline conversion tracking, so that you don't have to do this whole hockeying around trying to find the GCLID codes and then passing it back to Google Ads, even though there's a way to automate a lot of that GCLID process. Using enhanced lead conversions through the same kind of setup as you did with the enhanced web conversions, you set up enhanced conversions through Google Tag Manager, and ultimately then when somebody is purchasing, all you got to do is pass back to Google their email address with this setup or phone number, and Google can see what keyword, what ad, and so on and so on and so on that they typed in without needing the GCLID code, because it just simply compares the email address you gave them to the email address of all the users that Google has for all the users that have Google accounts. And if it can find an email address of a user who has a Google account that matches the email address of that you give them, that matches the customer who bought, now they know inside Google Ads, they can show you what ad that person typed in and so forth, what device they were on and so forth, and cuts out the need for a GCLID code completely. So with that, though, the problem is, why it's not as good as GCLID code tracking, is because if the email, of course, they give you at your company is a different email address that Google has on file for that user, which people have more than one email address in general, or the phone number they gave you is different than the phone number that they give Google as a backup number, then they're not going to be able to match the data up, and you're not going to get that crucial quote-unquote metadata about the ad click and where the ad click came from, and the person who bought was all the different, the traits, the demographics, the keyword that they used, and the ad they clicked on and so forth, so in the future how to get more results better than you had before, given that where the purchase came in. And as you have lots of purchases now, you have really strong information on knowing which leads aren't worth going after and which ones you should reallocate the budget to get even more of where the cost per lead is really cheap, or in general, more so, should I say, that where the ROI is really good. The leads that resulted in really high ROI. So you can reallocate budget to the parts of the account that's producing good quality leads, not just poor quality leads or just cheap leads. Usually cheap leads are poor quality leads, and the better quality leads are more expensive but are worth it because the ROI way exceeds what the little extra price that you're having to pay to get those leads. So anyway, enhanced leads conversions can do an offline conversion tracking setup without the need of as complicated of a setup using GCLID codes, but it's not as good. And I haven't ran a case study yet to try to see how good offline conversion tracking with the GCLID codes is compared to the enhanced lead conversions process without using GCLID codes, but I assume it's pretty vast, particularly in B2B markets. I would say, without even having tested it yet, the enhanced lead conversions is going to be complete crap, because people they have a work email address, and people who, of course, they have G Suite, where you may have your business email set up through G Suite, and your business email address might be the account that you're using Google with, but a lot of people don't use G Suite. They use Microsoft 365, or, I mean, there's tons of other email servers and systems. And of course, they're not going to have, Google's not going to have that business email address on file, and they're going to give you their business email address, because if it's for a business product and a business need, they're going to give you their business email address. So you see where the problem comes in. If you're doing lead generation in a B2C market like roofing, it potentially could be okay, because a lot of the people that give you their email address is going to be giving their Gmail address, since more than half of the market now is using Gmail, and it's a hell of a lot better than nothing. So if you had to choose between using GCLAD and, or excuse me, using enhanced lead conversions and nothing, because you can't manage the GCLAD process, then you can get a lot more results than you could before, even though still in that case, using the full offline conversion process with GCLAD is going to get you the most results. So respectively, that's the deal with that. And so with that said, we will try to run some experiments on enhanced lead conversions to see how that compares to offline conversion tracking if we can, and give you an update on that. But that's what that's about specifically. And mainly made this video here was to talk about enhanced web conversions that we have ran a specific test on. Got a 34% increase in profit from a campaign with similar ad spend before and after using it, and to tell you guys to use that as well. It's well worth it for you to do it for yourself. Particularly, I would say also if you sell a higher priced product or service where most people aren't going to buy on the first visit, given cookies are more important, and that's it. Or another case would be where you're in a market where people are very sensitive of their privacy, and they're going to be using Brave browser more, and then you have a higher percentage of people using cookieless browsers in that case. So that's also something else to think about. But anyway, with all that said, I have said what I was going to say about the enhanced conversion tracking process. So if you have any questions, leave me a comment down below. I'd appreciate it if you would give this video a thumbs up so other people can get this good, crucial information about how they should be setting up their conversion tracking with enhanced conversion tracking, so they'll have much better results. If you want to learn how to do really well with PPC, I'm sharing case studies and results and everything about PPC on this channel all the time. And because we have a PPC agency we run here, and I share my results on this channel. If you want to pick those results up and learn a lot about PPC, you should subscribe to the channel. Apart from that, I also have a blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions on how to build PPC campaigns the way that I build them here at our firm. If you want to learn on a more step-by-step basis on how to do things, I highly recommend checking that out as well. Maybe you'll find some good use in that for yourself as well. And so with that, I'll wrap this video up itself, and I'll hope to see you on my next video where I'll have another good potential case study or money-making strategy for you there. And so with that, I'll let you go. Peace.